Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and today I will be reviewing Cuphead. Cuphead was created by Studio MDHR, which was founded by two Canadian brothers, Chad and Jared Moldenhauer, who has been working on the game since 2010, as they were inspired to make the game after seeing the success of indies at the time, like Super Meat Boy. Though the development began in 2010, the brothers came up with the concept back in the 2000s, but yet the tools at the time to pull it off, especially since the indie scene around that time was completely different compared to today's scene, with only a few notable games standing out, like Cave Story and Alien Hominid. The game was first shown off at Microsoft's press conference at E3 2014 and was planned for a 2015 release, but was delayed multiple times until it was finally released in 2017 for Xbox One and PC, and then this year for the Nintendo Switch. I owned and played the game on Steam when it originally came out, but I also played it on my younger brother's Nintendo Switch in co-op mode to get footage for the game. I completed the game twice for this review, one on Steam and one on the Switch. Anyway, let's begin. It begins like a story seen in the old Disney films like Snow White. One day the two brothers, Cuphead and Mudman, go off to a casino and basically makes a bet with the devil and uses the bet. The moral of the story is, don't bet with the devil. The brothers beg for their life, and the devil makes a deal with them. If they can get the soul contracts of the runaway debtors in the Inkwell Isle, they may keep their souls, the emphasis on the word may. It's a pretty simple plot, but I do like how you're not playing a hero who believes in justice and all that is good, but being the devil's handyman who are trying to save their own skin. However, you're not really playing Cuphead for the plot. The main appeal of the game comes down to the gameplay, character designs, and the cartoon aesthetic inspired by 1930s animation, most notably the rubber hose animation style by Matt Fleischer, known for iconic cartoons such as Betty Boop and Popeye the Sailor Man, and the creator of the animation technique, rotoscope. The animation was all hand-drawn, which if you don't know anything about animation, especially hand-drawn animation, it takes a lot of time, even for the simple idle movement to get done. That's why you see many films and TV shows today all drawn digitally, as animated digitally is less time-consuming than animating hand-drawn. They chose to animate it hand-drawn to fully capture the magic of the 1930s cartoons, and I'm glad they did. Using the 1930s cartoons as reference, they could go all out for the character and enemy designs. One moment you'll be fighting a clown riding in a bumper cart, and then in the next phase the clown transforms into a balloon and then into a swing carousel. It feels like a hallucination trip, just like the animations of old, and I love it. As a kid, I grew up with old cartoons such as Looney Tunes and the Disney sorts, and while we've seen a few like the Disney games during the 16-bit era that made an attempt to capture the feel of a cartoon, Cuphead succeeds, and then some. It even has a film reel filter to really give it an old school animation vibe. There are a ton of references to old cartoons, such as Coco the Clown, Popeye, Woody Woodpecker, Tom and Jerry, and so much more. There are also references to many video games, such as Street Fighter, Darkstalkers, Final Fantasy VI, and Wonder Boy 3. Many animations and video game buffs would get a field day spotting many references and Easter eggs. I certainly did. The music was heavily influenced by the popular music genre of the 1930s, swing. Most notably the big band and ragtime genre, which uses instruments such as trombones, trumpets, drums and saxophones, giving the game an upbeat and lively vibe that blends well with the visuals. The person responsible for the soundtrack is a good friend of one of the brothers, Christopher Madigan, who is a percussionist that has performed with many groups such as the Toronto Symphony Orchestra and the National Arts Centre Orchestra. But this was the first time he composed music for a video game, and for his first time, he nailed it well. I didn't really notice this until I was reading an interview with Christopher, but there are multiple tracks with slightly different variations. I love video game music, but when you die from a difficult boss or level constantly, I sometimes get annoyed listening to the same music over and over again. Thankfully, I never got tired listening to the same track. While Cuphead drenches beautifully with the aesthetic and music, is the actual gameplay any good? The answer is heck yes. Cuphead is a run and gun game similar to titles like Contra and Gunstar Heroes. You are able to fire in multiple directions, and throughout the game, you are able to purchase different kinds of weapons, like the Chaser, which homes in on enemies, the Roundabout, which is like a boomerang projectile that is stronger on the way back, and the Charge, which cannot be fired rapidly, but deals a lot of damage. I found the majority of weapons to be useful, besides the Yobber, but I mostly stuck with the standard pea shooter and the Spread, which doesn't have much range, but covers a lot of areas and is useful in a run and gun sections. There are also charms you can get, but I always start with the Smoke Bomb, as it makes you invisible and immune to attacks. You can also get a meter too that can be used for EX moves, and once the meter fills up, you can use a super move. Features are classic fighting games, without the motion inputs of course. Speaking of fighting games, you are able to parry any projectile or enemy that is colored pink by jumping on them, which launches Cuphead and Mudman in the air, which can be useful in certain situations. You can also parry your buddy back to life, which can make co-op mode slightly easier, but like any co-op game, the difficulty really depends on who you play with. There are some run and gun levels where you go from point A to point B, but there's only about 2 or 3 run and gun stages in each world. I do wish there was more of these stages, as besides the Funhouse stage, which can be a bit frustrating with the shift of gravity, they were all fun. The main attraction are the bosses themselves, which there are a lot of them and are all diverse. There are 2 types of boss fights. The one you'll be playing the most are the ground boss fights, and then you have the area fights similar to shooters like Radius, which are a lot of fun. The bosses are tough, but with the inclusion of infinite lives and how short the boss fights can be, lasting around 2 minutes are fair, with a couple of exceptions. I found the boss fight against Dr. Tai to be the worst to fight against, as there were too many enemies flying at you with so little space to avoid, especially in the final phase where it felt like a bullet hell and there were objects appearing in the foreground blocking your view from incoming attacks. Thankfully, similar to the Mega Man games, if you are stuck on a particular boss, you can always come back to it and fight a different boss or stage, as Cuphead plays in a non-linear fashion as you freely explore Inkwell Isle. The bosses don't have a visual health point in battle. Instead, they are displayed after when you die, which may seem counterintuitive, but every time me and my brother died from a boss, we always came back for that one more try moment. It gave us a sense of rush, and when we defeated a tough opponent, it felt like we earned it, as we were yelling with excitement. There is also an easier option titled Simple Mode, however you won't be allowed to defeat the final boss if you select this option, making the Simple Mode a useless addition. Studio MDHR put a lot of effort and passion into this game, creating some colourful characters, and as someone who grew up with games like the Metal Slug titles, Cuphead was a blast to play with, especially with my younger brother. This game's old school difficulty may put some players off, But if you love arcade run-and-done games like Gunstar Heroes and Metal Slug, or if you're a lover of animation, especially the classics, then I highly recommend buying Cuphead. I will be looking forward to the next adventure, as well as the Netflix series coming soon. This has been Tanookiplayer, and I hope you have a wonderful day.